Welcome back. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE here at the NYSE CUBE studios. Of course, we've got our Palo Alto City connecting Wall Street, Silicon Valley. It's our AI Factory series, part of our AI Leaders podcast series, ongoing series around featuring the leaders. Mitesh is back. Mitesh Agrawal, CEO of Positron AI. Congratulations on the continued success. Great to see you again. You're CUBE alumni back.
Thank you, John, and thanks for having me again. I really appreciate it here.
I love the Silicon Valley Wall Street connection that we've done with the CUBE Wire, which is a CUBE original brand that we've created, and the program has been very popular because of the leaders like yourself sharing the content, sharing the data. So first I want to ask you, what's new? What's changed since we last talked?
Yeah.
What's up?
Well, if you look at Positron itself, what's changed is we launched our first product since we last talked, and Positron is a massively revenue-generating company now, and we raised our Series B that we recently announced with pretty big strategics as well involved, and we are running towards getting our second silicon out for AI inference, which is all the buzz right now. And then if you look at the AI inference as an industry, you're seeing kind of a whole class of AI inference chips that are coming into the space, saying, obviously NVIDIA is the absolute, behemoth in the space, but then all of these chip companies are really coming through and saying that, look, depending on the workloads, this is going to get more and more bigger and bigger because, every workload, the more dollars you save, the more electricity you save, the better it is for those workloads to grow.
Just to mention the raise, I think the notes were 230 million Series B.
Yeah.
Pretty hefty, over $1 billion valuation, which could have done better in this market, maybe. I'm only kidding, it's a great number.
No,
Inference is obviously the killer app. We saw NVIDIA acquire, or acquihire Grok.
Yeah.
Takes them off the table.
Yeah.
To me, that's a tell sign. Inference, we predict it's going to be the killer app. But what's going on now? Because you have AI factories, you got large scale clusters, you got the hyperscale, you got the neo clouds.
Yeah.
You have now a massive AI infrastructure build out where it's not just neo clouds versus the hyperscales and on-prem. It's like, where do I get the energy and the horsepower to run inference? And we haven't even talked about the edge coming. The edge is going to come in full force.
Yeah. No, I think that's, you touched kind of like you hit the nail on the head, really saying that inference right now, and let's just talk about the future, right? I think we all know what's happened and the people have discussed. Like this year, you're going to see a huge amount of multimodality. So video generation, just yesterday or 2 days ago, CDance 2 model launch. People are calling it like the DeepSeek moment of video generation, content generation, and not just from a content perspective, but world simulation, world building, building out of factory floors in simulation before even you do anything real with it. So you know exactly what are going to be the problems of it. All of this application space is just going to really take off, and what that means is more compute needed, more energy needed, and so like obviously I'm an energy maximalist, we need as much energy, but this is where Positron kind of putting Positron into the part of the story is we are a very energy efficient chips. For every watt of power, we're basically trying to get 3, 4, 5 times more output for inference. And this is kind of how we find a story into this overall narrative around, well, we need as much energy, but if we can, for the given amount of energy, if we can drive more output, the better it is for the production growth that is kind of out there continuously.
Energy drives tokens.
Correct.
Tokens feed intelligence.
Yep.
This is kind of where it's going. Drives revenue.
Yep.
Agents will eat tokens and get more intelligent.
Yep.
Robots and robotics, massively.
Physical AI.
Physical AI is not just robotics, it's everyday life.
Yep.
Moving around as a human, the robot's role. How do you see that playing out? And will it be a parallel growth, or is it phasing in? Do you see more enterprise with agents and robotics more of a clean sheet of paper?
I think, well, in terms of like order, I think the first order of business this year will be like agent growth. So like this is kind of what when you hear all the AI labs talk about it, they talk about automation of software roles and kind of agentic workflows coming in a lot of the digital life of things. I think robots, there's really a lot of development in the models for robotics, like what the data is being fed into it and how the robot models will get better. But in terms of really practically impacting our day-to-day lives, I think that will come a little bit later. But already software development, media development, all of those things, that's where you'll see the first really iteration of the growth.
Mitesh, what was the driver for your Series B appetite from the investors?
I think
growth? The revenue, product?
The big one is that we launched our first product, and that while we'll be announcing the specific customer and things in the coming months, but we are one of the first AI silicon companies to actually get a massive deployment, with a very, very large customer. We already announced Jump Trading, Cloudflare, PowerCell as our customers. Jump Trading actually co-led our Series B. They became our customer first. They saw the application of the chip and they said, like, look, we really love what you're building. We would like to actually kickstart your Series B and do that.
All right, so the folks learning, explain what the product is and how people are using the product.
Yeah, the product is we are designing inference chip and system to really focus on inference that is very memory intensive. And what that means in terms of what people think about applications, it's video generation, code generation, very high context requirements for inference. These are memory intensive tasks. You must have heard, like, people are talking about memory wall, memory wall. This is what the memory wall is in the growth of AI inference. And so our silicon will become the first ever terabyte plus memory capacity chip in the entire world. For context, NVIDIA Rubin, that comes out later this year, 384 gigabytes or 0.4 terabytes of memory. Positron chip that tapes out end of this year, world's first 2.3 terabyte memory or 2300 gigabyte chip, right? So that's the product, and that chip goes into a system that is the inference system, and those are the applications.
Your system or someone else's systems?
Our systems, yeah.
Okay, okay, huge memory advantage.
Yep.
That's going to really feed Edge too.
Yep.
That's going to be
and look, people talk about Edge. There are like two very, I want to talk about that. There's one Edge which is like the mobile and like, at the device with variables for all those things. That is separate. Like those chips are going to be different types of silicon, and that's where people are saying, like, some tasks will be done on the edge and some in the data center. The other part of edge is being closer to the population centers. Instead of having this massive data centers in the middle of nowhere, you're having data centers and buildings closer to the cities, just like content distribution network like Cloudflare is, and that's the other side of the edge.
It's like internet days of access points.
Yeah.
You had the Ma East, Ma West.
Yeah.
You had these super pops.
And the analogy I love is, like, people always worry too much that one thing will overtake another, like edge will overtake data centers or vice versa. But it's always, kind of small brain, big brain. Both are needed. Your use cases on your mobile and laptops will grow, but also your use cases in your data centers will grow massively. So it's actually both of them will see massive growth in the coming days.
All right, so what's on your to-do items now? What are you optimizing for? You got your B round, you got a lot of cash, business is good. Is it robotics? Where's the application? Where's the low-hanging? Where's your use cases?
So the biggest thing for us is our tape out of our second generation that is end of this year, and then really plugging that in to the application of where we think the biggest application growth is video generation and world simulation model, which will feed into robotics, training data sets, and all those things.
Because it's a prerequisite.
Correct, exactly. It's a prerequisite to build out.
Understanding the reasoning and inference of work.
Yeah, you need real-world physics for robots to understand from, and world building models, world simulation models will be basically the baseline and the underlying.
And they need memory for that.
A lot of memory.
So you bring up memory. I just interviewed some developers, Sam Party with Arcade and Harrison Chase from Lang.
Yeah.
San Francisco guys.
Those are the people focused on agentic applications.
Now they have a different memory issue, which kind of ties into your memory issue. Their memory is what the context memory was.
Context length, exactly.
So there's two memory definitions. Looks like there's two tokens, crypto and here. So memory of what context is like what I'm doing on my history, my experience, agents.
Correct.
You're talking about memory.
Physical memory.
Like in the PC, in the servers, now the systems.
Correct. But those two are intricately linked. The more physical memory you have, the more digital memory, which is what he's talking about, Harrison. Because agents will be better if they have context of not just what you did last 5 days ago, but 50 days and so on. More importantly, in the code generation side of things, it's like agents will be better not if they just have your latest code repository, but what the company has built over 5 years, 10 years, so millions of lines of code. The more you feed it, the better it will predict the next code that it'll write. And so both of those are so intricately linked. Your digital memory can only increase if your physical memory increases.
And we were using the example of OpenAI doing ads.
Yeah.
And so the ad model in the AI generation is going to look a lot different than Google AdWords,
Correct.
just like Google AdWords look a lot different than a banner ad.
Yes.
Because it had context.
Yes.
A keyword in the search makes a result come. In AI, the answer, the context is, what am I trying to do?
Yeah.
I'm trying to shop, so I don't need a link. I need the answer.
Yeah. And it's not even
I need memory for that.
It's not even just context of that particular moment that you're searching. AI will have context of, like, oh, Mitesh just had a kid who is a year old. So, like, and already recommendations engines do that, but AI will take it to the kind of next
Yeah.
level of prediction
Yeah.
setups here.
And that's why I like the hyper-converged vision around the edge,
Yes.
because you now can add more data sets. So I think you're onto something with the simulation worldview, because that's very translatable to other use cases.
Yeah. Yep.
Your thoughts on that? Just riff on that concept, because if I can do a worldview for robotics, why can't I create a worldview for me?
Yeah, I mean, you actually were making me learn about it, right? The hyperconverge, where not only it's just like, well, other part of that is actually, I do want to quickly just, is the security part of it, the cybersecurity, and all those things that will have to evolve to make sure all of this data, especially as we put our personal lives into the AI models and things like those. But I think, having that quick, low latency through that kind of setup will be very critical as well, because people don't like to wait. Speed.
I think the point of security is interesting, because like functionally you can say, oh, I can see that world happening, whatever use case you see. But if you look at cloud, when I was talking to Teresa Carlson, who was the first executive to build out public sector for AWS in DC, and she cracked the CIA, a lot of public sector, and then Amazon had the startups first, and then the enterprise. Startups were happy to have no data center, so they win that one. Check, Amazon goes off. But they really took off when they nailed security and compliance. I have to ask you, AI is tracking similarly where it's highly accelerated. Security and compliance mean different things than the classical categorical definitions. What is your vision on how security and compliance need to be thought about, the bar to hurdle over, the good enough line? What's your thoughts on that?
I think like on the technical side, there are, first of all, a lot better experts than I am that are building in the security space for AI. Especially, the thing here is like, you cannot be reactive anymore. It has to be like proactive. So when you hear like Anthropic doing, kind of their model testing around, how the model will behave in certain scenarios, what if it's fed this prompt, they have to do that because they can't just, wait until it does it in the wild. And that's proactive. Like a lot of that is very much.
By the way, that strategy has helped Anthropic.
Very much
in a lot of enterprise deals.
Right, exactly, right. And so not only, and that's on the extreme end of what models will do, but coming back to enterprises, they are so critical. Like today, like, OpenAI, Anthropic, they have scraped every piece of web data, but where there's still tons of data available is in the public and private company market data, right? And companies won't want to hand that over until the security protocols are done very, very well. So any company that thinks about that cracks that, will actually have a big role to play. But from a technology perspective, there's a lot other better people than me to think about it.
Well, Mitesh, great to have you on. Got a very tight schedule today. I want to have you back in. I want to do a deep dive on this, because I think the inference silicon angle is a really good one. I mean, we are siliconangle.com, of course.
Yes, exactly.
It kind of comes to the head. But I think the edge, I think robotics all kind of converge in as edge cases, but huge demand for inference and simulation.
Just the amount of use cases will, it's hard to fathom that exponential multiplication of use cases. So
put a plug in for your company. Great,
I'll
shake your hand, but put a plug in for your hiring. What are you trying to do? What's going on with the company?
I think the biggest thing I'll say is Positron is working on, we are focused on the silicon for the next level of intelligence. And so anyone that wants to work on, making sure intelligence grows and it's good intelligence, and one of the internal jokes that we do at Positron is, if Positron makes a really great chip that intelligence works on, eventually when they're overlords, they'll either really like us if they're nice overlords, and if they're Terminator style, they'll be like, okay, these guys did good. We'll not kill them.
Well, you can take I think
so people should obviously, like, we just raised, so we are growing. People should look at Positron.ai. Very, very interesting space to build in. I think the approach we're taking is different than a lot of the existing companies, NVIDIA, TPU, Amazon, and I think that's one of the interesting things to do. I think when you have some new kind of way of approaching the problem that everyone is trying to solve, I think it makes it for a challenging and fun environment.
Well, it sounds like a great culture. And getting to know you, it's been great. I think anyone who wants to join a company where it's thrilling, exciting, technically, and solving hard problems.
Exactly.
You're in the right spot. Super exciting. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, John. Really
I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE's our AI Factory series, doing our part to explain complex problems to you from experts. Thanks for watching.